Good evening. Just one example there of the struggles our CBD businesses are facing. I was in the city during the last week and there's no doubt it was much quieter than normal, particularly for school holidays. So tonight, are our city centres set to become another victim of COVID-19? And will just getting our office workers back into the CBD be enough to save our central business district? Joining us on our Flashpoint panel tonight with some bold ideas to get people back to the city, Group Executive at construction giant Brookfield and former Senator Ian Campbell. Also representing businesses smashed during the lockdown, Australian Hotels Association WA CEO Bradley Woods. Property Council's WA Chief Executive Sandra Brewer. And Jenna Clark, Assistant Editor of The West Australian and host of The West Live. So don't miss, in the next half hour, some big ideas to lure you back to the city. Also, how many people in WA are actually working from home? The figures may surprise you. Plus, the many personalities of Pete Rosethorn.
No one's been to the city since 1812.
Yes, you've been warned. Before we get to that, Ian, we need some bold ideas to get people back into the city. What have you got for us?
There's three things that are stopping people coming back. One are bosses in the eastern states and overseas who are saying don't come back. That might be appropriate in London, it might be appropriate in Melbourne, but when we haven't had a COVID transition in Perth for nearly 6 months, it's ridiculous for people in the east to tell their workers in the west not to come to work. Some people who can come to work aren't coming because of public transport concerns and are jumping in their cars, and I think the costs are an issue. I think parking is an issue. So I would be really taking some bold decisions to get people back. Let's make public transport into Perth free right through to, say, Australia Day. Let's make parking free, get rid of parking costs, to get the City of Perth to suspend parking fees through till, say, Australia Day. And then if we need more parking spaces, let's throw open spaces like Langley Park, possibly Belmont, the racecourses and so forth. Let the soccer club and the footy club charge a gold coin to go there. But just take some big decisions to confront what's stopping people coming back into the city. So we need to tell eastern states bosses, please get your people to come back into the office in Perth. It's a beautiful city. It's very, very safe. Now's the time to send them back. Don't destroy our city while you're sitting in an office in Sydney and Melbourne. It's crazy.
Fair to say, I think that the COVID-19 phenomenon has turbocharged that transition away from being so centralised in the city. So are we just sort of propping up a fading concept here? Is that CBD concept dying in any way?
The evidence that we're seeing is no. It's a short-term phenomena. It's going to suit some people, but if you really want to build substantial businesses, I mean, Andrew Forrest could not have built Fortescue Metals Group sitting at home. He started off with a smaller office, employed 10 people, 20 people, now thousands of people, and they all sit together and collaborate. It's the same with all of these offices. Atlassian, one of Australia's great tech exports, have just committed to underwrite a building of over $1 billion in the heart of Sydney. In the middle of the pandemic, they've done that.
But that did start in a basement.
They did, exactly, yeah. But there's no way Atlassian could have got built unless they all got together and shared ideas and collaborated and built things. That's what Amazon are doing that now, have just announced only a couple of weeks ago they're going to underwrite a $2 billion building in central Melbourne. These big successful companies are backing the future of the city and office workers coming into the city.
Bradley, Lonely Planet gave us that unwanted title of Dullsville many years ago. Have we now earned that nickname?
No, look, Tim, we back in 2000, that was the term, and it was carried forward for probably 10 years. We saw some massive transformation and investment in new restaurants, bars, small bars, pubs. We're going through a hiatus at the moment, and certainly I think if we want to think about where do you meet a future boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, you're not going to do it in your lounge room. You've got to get out and about.
On the internet, though. Come on, Bradley, it's 2020.
But the problem there, Tim, is you meet them online, but you've got to meet them somewhere in real life as well too. And you go to a cafe, you go to a bar. But reality is a lot of people meet their future partners or friends in bars and restaurants and hospitality venues.
So you're worried about love, Bradley?
I am always worried about love, Tim. Being a single man, it's one of the priorities that I have. But reality is that I think if we're talking about networking, business deals, creating relationships, interconnection, it's so important to have that, and the city is the primary hub for that.
Sandra, give us the numbers. In terms of workers currently doing it from home or remotely,
Yeah.
what's the current stat at for Perth?
All right, well, there's a couple of different stats. The one that we've been paying attention to lately is the office occupancy or usage of the space that's leased in the city. So we've been doing that for the last few months during COVID. The current figure is 63% utilisation, which feels about right. I would say some businesses are 80 or 90%, but then there's some others that are, well below 20. My best measure is the local sushi restaurant, how many rolls they have in their refrigerator at lunchtime, and I'm pleased to report that it's growing each week. There's more sushi rolls in the cabinet, so we expect it to keep growing.
But you're right in the coalface. So you talk to the building owners, the major tenants. What are they telling you? Is it going to come back, and to what level?
Our information from our members, both leasing agents and commercial property owners, is that they're not yet fundamentally concerned.
Okay. Jenna, is this shift inevitable, do you think? I mean, you look at the workers, there is an upside, right? If you can spend more time at home with your family, you're not stuck in your car for an hour or 2 hours a day.
You're not
You spend less on
traffic.
petrol, better for
Parking.
the environment. You can drop your kids off at school, whatever.
Yeah. I think from my point
That's
of view, and I
pretty
think
good, isn't it?
I'm definitely with Bradley on this, Lonely Planet can go get stuff because Dullsville is not what Perth is. We have so many exciting things happening in the city. There's some great bars, some great activations that are carrying on. I myself, I don't want to work in the city. I want to live in the city. I want it to be more friendly for residents. If I want to go and find an apartment, I just don't know where there are the resources or the facilities available, because I can't go get a bottle of milk from the supermarket because there isn't one open on Sunday night at 9 o'clock in the city. So I would love to be an inner city resident to enjoy all of those great things that we have in there, but it's just not possible. That's why I think I'm so excited when we see what the government are designating with the ECU renovation in the city and moving more people in there. So it just becomes another suburb, but it's still the jewel in our crown of our state.
So is the working from home argument a waste of time? Should it be more focused on getting people to live and to go and seek entertainment?
Recreate, have fun in the city. I think moving forward, people of my generation, we're probably not enjoying the long lunches that we enjoyed back 10 years ago. We probably get together and we want to go and work out in Langley Park. There's some great gyms in the city now that you want to go and have a meeting at after and grab a green juice and things like that. I think the way that we live is fundamentally changing, and we have to cater to the next generation.
Ian, you talk to the Premier fairly regularly. Is he focusing enough on this, do you think?
Oh, look, he's been magnificent. He got his state public servants to come back to work months ago.
Yep.
I think the other thing that's missing is that it's actually just this. I mean, all of us are sick and tired of Zoom calls and WebEx calls, but actually sitting here and talking and seeing people's body language and seeing the glint in their eyes. And if you're working for, a Qantas or Woodside or Wesfarmers, how fantastic to bump into Richard or Rob Scott or Michael Chaney in the lift and have a cup of coffee with them, talk to your boss, talk to your colleagues. That's what's missing, and that's what creates energy and innovation.
When you did sit down with the Premier, though, a couple of weeks ago, your idea there for free parking, free public transport, did you put them to it?
We did. That wasn't the opportunity, so I'm just going to do it through Channel 7. I know the Premier's...
Are you going to? Because ultimately, someone's going to have to pay for it, right?
It's a call, and I think, giving up the revenue from Perth-bound trains and giving up revenue from parking is a tiny investment compared to all of the other money that's being spent to reinvigorate the economy. And
Tim, the Perth parking tax, which the state government is receiving about $1,400 a year from, if they even just suspended that for a year, would probably at least halve the cost of parking. The state government has a surplus, which will be delivered in the budget, and it has tens of millions in reserves as a result of that parking tax levy. So it can be done. It's just a question of the willingness to do it.
Yeah. 2020 has seen a dramatic rise in employees working from home due to the pandemic. As Western Australians have slowly returned to normal life, many companies continue remote working. 85% of accounting firm Ernst & Young's WA employees remain out of the office, while in Sydney, 96% of their workforce are at home. Many bosses have reported increased job satisfaction and efficiency since working from home has been introduced. So as we heard, Ernst & Young have one of the biggest workforces continuing to work from home. I caught up with their talent leader, Elisa Kolak, earlier to discuss how working from home is affecting employees. Elisa, thanks for your time. We haven't had any community spread of COVID-19 in Perth now for over 150 days. Why is it that most of your workforce is still working from home?
We've had our Perth office open since July, and in that time we've probably had over 400 of our staff actually return to the office. That number is steadily growing, and we expect that number to keep growing. With EY, we've had remote working in place for some time. So even pre-COVID, about 70% of our people worked informally remotely.
So do you see the trend away from being in the office to continue? And are we going to see EY disappear from our skyline here in Perth?
Oh gosh, I don't think so, Tim. I don't think we're going to see EY disappear from the skyline. I think there's still very good reasons for our people to be back in the office, and I think the city will always attract our people back in. I'm not sure that we'll see the numbers in the office that we had pre-COVID, but pretty sure that we will continue to grow as people feel a little bit more safer to return and also feel like they've got the right things in place.
Having said all that, what benefits has your company seen from giving people that opportunity to work from home?
Yeah, it's been quite interesting. Our people have remained really productive and quite engaged remotely. So we went, 8,000 or more people remote overnight, pretty much. And a lot of people have told us a lot of benefits. So they've seen things like reduced travel commute times, time with their family, ease with juggling a whole range of things, not having to dress up, greater ease in concentrating on tasks, having flexibility to juggle both home and work things.
And do you ever see your Perth office getting back to even close to full capacity? Are you doing anything to lure them back, or are you quite happy to have a percentage of people, being able to work remotely?
Yeah, I think we're going to end up with a whole group of people that are more comfortable working remotely, but we're certainly doing what we can to encourage our people to get into the office and to work in the office.
Would you ever force them to come back?
No, we wouldn't force them to come back.
All right, Elisa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tim. Great to talk to you.
Sandra, sounds encouraging. They've been one of the real standouts for people working from home, EY, around the country. Does that give you hope?
Oh, look, I think that's an example of this new flexibility that people expect from their workplaces, but I don't think it affects the primacy of office.
And you look at the skyline of Perth, dominated by the usual suspects, resource companies and banks. Do you ever realistically, let's say in my lifetime, expect we'll see Google, Amazon, one of those sorts of banners on the top of a building in Perth?
Well,
realistically.
Brookfield and all the property council love BHP and Rio and
absolutely.
But look, from my own personal experience, I've just been asked to help set up the global headquarters of a rapidly emerging artificial intelligence company here in Perth.
Can you tell us who?
It's a company called AIWO, AIWO, and it's a really exciting tech company out of Finland. Mm-hmm. And the founder wants to come to Perth, one, because of the climate, two, because of the can-do business attitude. And our financial sector, where you can raise money for startups really effectively now. We've got a great startup culture built in Perth, on the same timeline as the great emerging populations of the world to our north. And a marketplace obviously a lot bigger than Scandinavia's, but where you can actually test a lot of stuff in Australia and be a springboard into the US. So that's a small example. I strongly believe that off the back of the big resources industries and all of the companies like EY and all of the professional firms that support them, we will see major Googles, Facebooks, Amazons building a bigger and bigger presence in Perth.
Sandra, we know that there's been lobbying for Rio Tinto, particularly in light of recent events, to bring their headquarters to Perth, BHP as well.
Yes.
That's great, but should they be also as proactive in getting some of those other sorts of companies, diversifying our skyline?
There is a lot going on that probably isn't well known. I know of, fantastic virtual gaming businesses that are growing very fast in the city.
I'm just going to nod. I have no idea about that world. But
look, there's some recent examples of very large international prominent names that have opened in the city in the last year or two.
Yep.
Ritz-Carlton, Western Hotels, Doubletree by Hilton, because those companies want to invest, they want to be part of the city, they want to be part of the Western Australian economy. It's a very good story for other corporations to look at.
Let's hope they do. Coming up next, the most important thing that each of our panellists wants you to know.
Perth is no longer Dullsville.
Treat our city as the crown jewel that she is.
See it for yourself.
We can make the difference.
Revitalising our CBD will continue to be in the spotlight in the months and years ahead, with a state election in March and in just weeks, a new Lord Mayor elected. Perth hasn't had one for nearly 3 years. Ambitious future plans, some funded, some not, include a world-class Indigenous cultural centre and free parking on weekends, as well as the new $1.5 billion city deal, including a new Edith Cowan University campus, all solely aimed at re-energising the Perth CBD. All right, let's get to our guests' flashpoints now. The single most important thing that they would like you to take away tonight. Let's start with you, Bradley. Your flashpoint tonight.
Tim, I think the key thing is we love the fact that Perth is no longer Dullsville. We've had such an explosion of new hotels, bars, restaurants, hospitality establishments, but to make them work and to survive, we've got to have people to return to work and to utilise our city to the best of its ability.
Jenna, your flashpoint.
I want to live in the city, I don't want to work in the city, and I want to see it to be completely revolutionised in the way we work, we play, we enjoy and treat our city as the crown jewel that she is. So I think it needs complete reform at all levels, and I think I'm definitely backing free parking forever.
Good luck with that. Sandra, what have you got for us? What's your final thought for us?
All right, Tim. Well, I think reports of the city's demise are greatly exaggerated. The city is a fantastic place to visit. Just catching a ferry up to Elizabeth Quay and wandering through the city to the cultural centre is absolutely terrific. People need to give the city another chance. Get in there, see it for yourself. And we'd like to ask all levels of government to support with relieving the Perth parking levy for a period, offering free public transport to get people back in the habit of going to work, and for big city bosses to ask people to come back to the office.
OK. And finally to you, Ian, your flashpoint.
This is inside the control of a very small group of people who could actually just say, we love our city, we want it to survive, we want it to thrive, and we can make the difference. So please make that difference.
And just following up on your three-point plan before, are you going to pick up the phone, speak to the Premier and say, free parking, free public transport, let's do it?
I can. Look, the Premier has told me that he tunes into this show every Monday night religiously, and I know, Mr McGowan, you're watching, so I won't even have to pick up the phone. I'm going to save myself the 12 cents. So I think between you and the City of Perth, let's just make it happen. OK, we'll hold you to that. Thank you very much. And a big thank you to all of our guests who made time to be a part of this program. You can join tonight's